Okay guys, so you're probably wondering why I have the bezel wire already shaped and on the back plate, and it's because honestly I wasn't going to film this. I was in a hurry to make it and I just wasn't going to film it, but I decided last minute that I'm like, you know what, just film it, it's fine. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to film because you have to make sure that you have the angles and all that kind of stuff, and you're not blocking the camera, you're not hitting the camera, all that kind of stuff. And honestly, another reason too is like I was supposed to go to a concert and I didn't think I was really gonna have enough time to finish it, but I ended up finishing it, so I'm really glad I did film it. I like to film it all in one shot rather than like cut it up in multiple shots, because then you have to upload it in multiple shots. I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing of mine. But anyway, if you want to see the previous process of all that, you just watch literally any other video that I make a pendant or earrings that have a bezel like that. You just wrap around the stone, you cut it, and then you put it on the back plate, put borax as your flux, and then heat it. This is a really thin bezel. I was not sure if I was going to melt it 95% of the time I was making this, which would have been devastating, but it turned out really beautiful and easy to work with. So not easy to work with in the fact that like I really could have melted it at any time, but I didn't, so that was a plus. And I have it on the nails, and then I'm just lifting it up and going around and making sure to heat it as much as I can and not melt anything, getting heat from underneath and then above as well, getting that solder to flow all the way around, and then pickling it. And here's the stone that we're going to be working with. Isn't this stone absolutely gorgeous? I made this necklace for myself. I'll probably sell it eventually, but for right now I think I'm just going to enjoy it for a little bit. I made one like this a few years ago, and it sold. So I was like, I want another one. I really like that necklace too. I like bending the bezel wire out a little bit, and that just helps, so like if I do put the stone in, I can get the stone back out. Off camera, also, I sanded the stone a little bit and on the back, around like the edges on the back of it to help it go into, because it still wasn't going in the best. I think I'm probably doing that right now. It was a really tight fit. I'm like doing everything I can to try to get it in there. If it doesn't fit, normally I just sand the stone down a little bit. I don't like give up on the whole project just because it's not fitting. I'm not really sure why I did that. Like, it's not really necessary. It's not necessary to get the stone in right now. It fits good enough that I could have made it fit. It's their correct shape, and that's the thing that really matters. Right here, I'm trying to just figure out the design. I ended up not using this wire. I found a half round wire, and I used that instead. This wire here was just a little too tall. I was worried that if I used this wire, I wouldn't be able to bend that bezel wire over. If you can kind of see, it sits really high, so I don't want it to solder to that bezel wire and then not be able to push that bezel wire over. That is something I'm always trying to be conscious of. But I actually did solder a leaf to the bezel a little bit on this project, which wasn't exactly the best, but it was fine. It worked out. Yeah, here's that half round. That's what I'm looking for, is different things to use, and I ended up grabbing the half round. I even grabbed like a twist wire because I was thinking about maybe I'd use that. Trying to get the bend out of it. And then I knew I wanted to use some leaves, but I also knew I didn't want to make those leaves. So, sorry, I'm like totally getting in the frame. Didn't even realize it. It's always hard because, like, where I put my camera, I have to have it, like, kind of in a certain spot because otherwise my phone overheats. And I hate that because it makes it so it, like, focuses on my hand and stuff at times when I don't want it to. I'll have to try some different camera angles. Here I'm just bending different leaves different ways, trying to find different designs or different, like, ways of making it fit that I like. I don't remember if this is a leaf I ended up using. I think it is. I think I had to change it quite a bit though. And you can do that with the leaves. That's one thing that's nice about at least the way that my leaves are. Like you can have it looking like it's going one way and then you can totally reshape it to go the other way. That's one reason I like the way I do my leaves. I love like the other style of leaves that a lot of silversmiths do, but I've just never really been good at doing them, so I don't like working with saws, and I feel like that's a big part of that design is the saw work. So you guys are probably going to hear that it's going to be quiet for a hot minute because really I'm just doing the same thing, so there's no reason for me to voice over. I do fast forward through this part of it just to make it a faster editing process. I'm just doing the same thing basically, so you guys will hear from me again when I'm doing something besides bending leaves and trying to get them to fit a certain spot. All right, guys, we're back. So here I am doing the borax and flux on the leaves. leaves, feathers, whatever you want to call them. I think they're more leaves. But if it prevents someone from buying it, then they're a feather. I like to put the solder on the leaf. And the gauge of the leaf is honestly just whatever scrap metal I have in there. I don't like using super thick because I do bend it. So like, probably like a 24, probably more like a 26, 28 gauge is like, I think a good gauge for them. And I do put the solder on the back. The solder is an easy solder. I like using 22 gauge easy solder. And then the back sheet on this one is, I think it was 26 gauge, but I think I kind of regretted not using a 24 gauge. And I did that because like I was going to be doing a lot of design work, and I felt like it was going to be, and it's a bigger piece too. If you have like a little small hand torch, by the way, that does not put out a lot of heat, do not try this at home. It will take you forever to do. This torch that I'm using is a lot hotter. If you have the torch that's in my silversmithing kit, you can do this. That's why the kit is nice, because like you really do have things that like I could use to make something like this, and I have used that torch in the past to make something honestly a lot more detailed than this. So the things that I have in the silversmithing kits really are exactly like what you kind of need. That's one thing that's nice about them, is it's not a bunch of like random stuff. Like everything kind of has a purpose in it, and so you can definitely get things that you think are going to be good, but then realize later it's not, and so you end up spending a lot more money because it's not better, if that makes sense. I did that a lot when I was first learning how to silversmith, and you don't really need a lot of tools and stuff like that. Everything that's in the silversmithing kit, I could set it up on a little like Amazon cart, like those little cheap Amazon carts. Sometimes I'll set it up, one of my starter kits up on that, and I'll go sit outside and silversmith, or I'll do my silversmithing classes, and that's all I have to bring is that little cart or a little table. And it's nice because sometimes when you have too much stuff, it just gets messy. Less is more, I think, at least. I wish I had half the stuff I do. Sometimes I don't know why I have it all. It just makes my desk super crowded. And another thing is too, like people have been commenting that like they're happy to see that I don't have, like my desk is just a $10 desk from a yard sale. It's nothing fancy. You don't need fancy stuff. You don't have to overcomplicate the tools and materials that you have to silversmith. I was gonna say while silversmithing, but to silversmith. But yeah, so I put the solder on the back of the leaf, and then I solder that down to the back plate, and then I do take the pliers and kind of pinch it down a little bit, and then if I need to, I will add more solder if it's not really flowing down like I want it to. But this just kind of helps give you a little bit of a head start to get it to where you want it to go. And you really want to make sure to kind of heat up, the whole back plate, but really in the spot that you want to solder. And sometimes I'll solder like a piece of it down and then quench it, which is just dipping it in like the pH down in water, or just water in general, and then kind of moving the leaf around. Sometimes that helps a little bit. If you guys like silversmithing and you want to help support the channel, I do have a mystery cabochon subscription. So if you guys subscribe to that, it really helps me out a lot to be able to post more of these videos, because it does take a long time to film it. Took me about an hour and a half to make this pendant in total. So that also means that I have to go through an hour and a half of editing. So that's time that I am taking away that I could make another pendant like this to edit this video. So it just helps me be able to make more of these videos, and then it also makes it so that way you guys get good quality stones that you guys can turn around and make money on. I do try to add stones that are similar to the stones that I do in some of the videos. Obviously not all of them. Like, I'm not going to add a massive stone like this in like a $25 one, because it cost me way more than $25 to buy this stone. But I do add, like the last ones that went out, they had a bunch of little stars and stuff like that. I'll add a couple examples of this the mystery cabochon subscription kit at the end of this video, so you guys can kind of see an example of it too, what some of the people got in the last ones. And I am constantly looking for new stones to improve it and better it, so I really do want it to be valuable to the people that are purchasing it, and I want them to really enjoy it. I actually contacted one of my stone suppliers last night, and asked him if he could get moonstone. So I'm hoping to have some moonstone in the next one. And it looks like from the pictures that it's pretty good quality, which is really nice. I'm pretty excited about it. A little sneak peek of what we might be having in it. And I also got some more Aurora Opal, so we might be doing some more Aurora Opal lightning bolts. I have a couple of them shaped up, so obviously that each and every one of them is different, so I can't guarantee it, but that's like my goal. I'm trying to make it more like, this month has these stones, this month has these stones, this month has these stones. That way I know that every month people are getting different stones. And here we're just doing some design work. I wanted to add some of like the bigger balls to the design. I didn't do it to the other side. I did just do it to this side because I just felt like there wasn't a lot of room on the other side. And like I said earlier, I was in a time crunch, so taking the time to pick out the little balls takes a lot of time. So I was like, I'm just going to do a couple of them. One thing you can do to prevent them from rolling around is add borax, and it kind of helps them stay in place a little bit better, the balls. I try to make it so you guys can see what I'm doing, but then I have to pull back because otherwise my phone will overheat. I wish I could have you guys up close when I'm soldering, but it would be the end of these videos for a while at least. One thing that you can do to prevent the balls from jumping around so much is add the heat slower. I was kind of in a time crunch, so I was adding the heat kind of fast, which causes the little balls to jump around, which really just took me more time because then I had to find it. Making sure they're getting nice and red, but nothing's melting. quenching it. I did lose the big ball when I quenched it, so I was like, I'm done with this dirty water. So I cleaned it out a little bit and then added some more peach down to the water. All right, I did all that and then I cut it out because it was just very time consuming. So we're gonna obviously solder that ball back on, fluxing it with water and borax mixed together. I'm also going to add the design work before I'll solder them at the same time, so it saves a little bit of time by like not having to reheat it and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to add this design element onto the pendant as well. Just trying to straighten that wire so it's not wonky. I do try to get this type of wire as close as I can because it can be really hard to move around after you start soldering. So the closer you can get it to the bezel or wherever you want it, the better. Adding our borax. Adding the other side, the design for the other side as well. Trying to get it done all in one shot. So I'm heating it down from below to try to get the whole back plate nice and warm. If the whole back, like if it's not warm enough, the whole plate in general, or sheet or whatever, it's not gonna flow. The solder is not gonna flow. So you really need to get quite a bit of it pretty warm. It will flow. It just works a lot better if you just heat as much as you can of whatever it is you're working on. And then of course, you want to mostly get the heat in the spot that you're trying to heat up. which for this piece is those balls right there. So just trying to heat it up from down below, get it nice and warm. And if you notice it's starting to turn that red color, that's what we're looking for. Sometimes with that type of design element that I was using, the solder will actually flow out from that bezel into the design, so you don't have to put a ton of solder in there. If your solder is not flowing, I've had a couple people say that, your torch might not be hot enough. You might not have enough borax in your water. Some little things, little tips. If you don't have your piece that you're working on lifted up, that could be another problem. If you're like soldering on, say I was soldering down below on the piece of wood, that can absorb a lot of the heat. So, yeah, that can cause it to not flow as well. I got a lot of feedback that you guys do not like it when I film and work and talk at the same time. Apparently the tools are too loud, so I will try to do more of the voiceovers. I think that's your guys' preferred teaching method. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. I know I'm really quiet when I talk, so this kind of helps because I'm just muted altogether. I'm not the loudest speaker in the world. Which is okay. We'll just do more videos like this. I was hoping that way would work out because then I could film them, talk at the same time, upload them. But I think the tools were kind of too loud as well for people. Just soldering away. You can see when the solder kind of flows a little bit in person. It's really hard to see in the videos. It's hard for me to get it close enough for you guys to be able to see. My phone will overheat if I do. So obviously we want to try to protect that. Otherwise we won't have videos to post. I've also had a hard time because I download a lot of the videos from my TikTok lives, and I had some of them that weren't downloading correctly. They were like, say it would get to like this point right here, and then the whole thing would not be there. So I'm not sure what that was about, but if you guys are wondering why I haven't been posting as much, it's because of that. So hopefully we'll have some more coming up here, and I'll just try to record it on an extra phone that I found. I'm quenching it. Here we're just cutting off the excess silver all the way around the pendant. I like using snips, as you guys can tell. Some people like using hand saws, little saws. I do not like those because for me they just break, and I just don't like them, so that's why I don't use them. If you guys are wondering why I don't ever use them, that is why. I think people can do a lot of really cool creative stuff with them. I'm not one of them. And I'm okay with that. I'm sure there's people that use them that can teach you a lot somewhere else. I thought it would be fun to do a design that I've done in the past. It sold pretty quick, so I couldn't wear it. And I wanted to have a necklace like that again to wear, and this stone is absolutely beautiful, so I'm like, you know what? We don't have a lot of time today, but we're going to make it. So that's what I'm doing, is trying to recreate the same design as before. And I love how it turned out. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm so happy I remade it. It was definitely a bit of a challenge, though. It wasn't the easiest design to do, this part that I'm working on now. I didn't want to have to solder another element to the piece, so I just bent the wires and then I soldered those, as you'll see later on in the video. You guys probably won't hear me talking too much through this, just because it's a lot of just bending the wires and trying to get it where we want it.
Sometimes when you want to try to get something like more half round or anything like that, you can literally use anything on your desk that is that shape, that is strong enough to withhold you hammering on it a little bit. You don't have to have fancy mandrels and all that kind of stuff. The ring mandrel I do highly suggest having, obviously, because that does help. But use what you have. Look at that gorgeous design coming together. I'm so excited about it. Just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If you guys haven't already signed up for the Cabochon subscription, we do still have that available. When you guys sign up for that, it really helps me be able to post more of these videos and take the time to edit them. A lot of you guys have been signing up for it, and I really appreciate it because it supplements my income, and I depend a lot on like platforms and stuff. And for instance, like this week, TikTok is not pushing videos and not pushing stuff, so it makes it hard because then I don't have as much income coming in. So you guys really are helping me a lot with that. I greatly appreciate you guys. Doing the Cabochon subscription. I do have the mystery jewelry subscription. I don't think I'm going to keep letting people add on to it just because it is something I have to physically make, and it's a lot more work, and I have quite a few people signed up in it, so I don't want to keep letting people add on to it just because I get custom orders and I need time to make those as well. But I'll probably always keep the Cabochon subscription open, so for the people that do that, I really appreciate you. I am working right now to get more stones for it. I know the last month I just started it, so like trying to get all the stones together so it's more of a unique variety takes a little bit of time, just because obviously buying stones from around the world, having them shipped and all that kind of stuff. But I'm excited to get new goodies in and have fun stuff that you guys will really enjoy getting and being able to work with and all that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to let you guys know I really appreciate you. This design was definitely not the easiest to do, so if it's your first time silversmithing, I do not suggest doing it. Maybe on like your 5th or 6th time. Or 10th. I don't know. However long it takes you to get the hang of it. But this was definitely a harder one to do for sure. I'm just trying to take it easy here and do like one piece at a time, and not do like everything at once kind of thing. That way I can also get the wires and everything like that where I want them. Just trying to figure out how I want the pendant to sit, if I want it sideways like that or the other way. I ended up switching it and doing it the other way. Counting the beads, trying to make it as even as possible. That way it looks good, doesn't look all uneven and awkward. Took a lot of bending stuff and just trying to get it to where I like it before I solder it down. Flexing it. This was like really hard to do too because it would have been a lot easier. What I should have done is I should have used hard solder and I should have used easy solder for this. So like the first one should have been hard solder and then this one should have been easy solder. I honestly like hardly ever even buy hard solder though. So if I was to do this again, I'd probably just still do it the same way. But if you're trying to do it, I would use hard solder for the top part that we just soldered with the beads. That was my dog stepping on her toy. And then the bottom one, I would use easy solder. That would make life a lot easier. Or medium, hard or medium. And the reason why is because they melt at different heating points. Heating temperatures. So like, yeah, that would just help. You wouldn't have to get the top one or the bottom one as hot as the top one for it to solder. The top one would be, yeah, my brain trying to process it. How to explain it? So the top one would be the hard solder, so it would be a higher heat than the bottom one, which is the easy solder. So then the top one is less likely to come unsoldered. I think that's probably an easier way of explaining it. I could have also turned it around so the heat was going down, not up towards that, which would have been a lot easier. here I'm adding the solder onto the back band part because it'll make it easier to solder that pendant to where I want it. I'm not really trying to solder the whole thing down because I kind of just want it to like solder in like a little spot and then make sure that it's where I want it and then go back and solder it. I did have to try quite a few times to get it where I wanted it. But I think it's good for you guys to see that. See that sometimes it takes moving it around a little bit here and there to get it where we want it. And to try different things too. The first thing I tried wasn't working great at all. And then I like moved it around and tried it different ways. So you guys will see all that. I remembered that I didn't sand the edges of the pendant, and I definitely did not want to solder this down and have like rugged edges because this design would have made that really hard to fix that. So that's why I stopped and I took that off. I took it and I'm doing it the other way. Doing it the other way. I don't even know what the words coming out of my mouth. What I meant to say is to go around it and get all those edges off. No more Sharpies. Little sharp edges. It can be so deceiving, like when you turn whatever you're working on upside down to solder it, if it's going the right way or not. Sometimes that's like the hardest part of soldering things, is like trying to figure out exactly where it's gonna go. I know sometimes people will draw out like line it out with Sharpies and stuff like that. But I think the heat, I don't really use Sharpies a whole lot, but I think the heat does burn that off. So I don't know. I could try that sometime and see if that helps at all. This is another reason I like the screws being in the piece of wood, is because if you guys notice on that far side, I use that screw there to kind of hold that back design where I want it as I move the pendant around, which made it a lot easier to work with as well. That's why I put them up on the screws, and then plus I can heat from underneath and try to move it around how I want it. Okay, you guys are probably thinking to yourselves, what is she doing now? I'm actually taking the bottom one off because it melted a little bit when I was working on it. Sorry, my hands are in the way. I hate when that happens, but it's just really hard for me to tell where the camera is sometimes and like where my hands are and totally blocking your guys' view. So I am taking that off and I'm just going to hammer it and then put it back on, which I originally wanted to have a hammered look, but I ended up not doing it originally. So I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'll just take it off and hammer it. It just gave it like a warped kind of look because it melted a little bit. So hammering it fixed that. I must have realized that my hands were in the way. Quenching it, drying it off, and then we're going to hammer it. And then here we're going to solder it back on. I did it on the back of the little bead wire originally, so that's where I was soldering it back onto, is the back of it. And I just did one side, and then I did the other after that. And then I did solder the top part just to make sure that the chains don't come off of it or anything like that. Just part of the design I had in mind is soldering that as well. And of course we want to make sure we don't have anything sharp on it, so we're making sure to get all those little sharp edges off there. And I think I just realized I didn't show you guys me setting this stone because I was actually going to a concert that night and I was in a hurry. So I am so sorry you guys don't get to see me setting the stone on this one. I will post a picture or a video of how it turned out though. Sorry for not showing how I did that, but I forgot to do it. Sorry, guys. It's just like any other stone setting. If you watch any of the other videos, you guys can get the idea. Alright guys, and here it is with the stone in it, all finished up, so beautiful. And I did also add some videos of the Cabochon Mystery subscription kits. These are some of the $25 ones, so you guys can kind of get an idea of what those look like. And like I said, thank you for everyone that does sign up for those. They really do help me be able to make more videos and be more financially secure, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you to everyone that signs up for the subscriptions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.